Hey, hello. Happy October 17th. We're already more than halfway through the month of October. That doesn't make any damn sense. But what makes a lot of sense is it's small biz breakdown time. Feels good too. Nice day. I get to break out my brand new Rams hoodie because there's a little chill in the air, so I felt like it was necessary to break out my brand new Rams hoodie. It looks so good. Anyway, let's get into it because guess what? A lot of stuff happened. A lot of stuff usually happens. But we like discussing some of that stuff. And as usual, we start further west as we can go with whoever guest is the furthest west. Not even a guest, he's a co-host. He is Leland from Oregon. Hey, Leland.
Hey, Brent, good to be here. And yeah, I feel so distant from you guys. I mean, you're all over East Coast, and I'm over here chilling in the West Coast.
I was there yesterday. I was there with you. I was in Vegas, and guess what? I will be. It's not even San Francisco. I will literally be the furthest west that you can get in the continental U.S. I think because I will be in Half Moon Bay at the Ritz-Carlton next week for a conference, and that is literally on the cliff. Like you could literally jump right in the Pacific. Not that I will try to do that, but I will be so far west that I could almost dip a toe in the Pacific. So
too bad some time. Go down the stairs that they usually have. Whatever.
I'll do that, but unfortunately, I'll be back here by Friday, so I won't be able to introduce myself as the furthest west. But anyway, let's move on. Let's get to I was gonna say the heart, but I don't think it's the soul of rock and roll. It's something I never get it right. All I know is all the way from magical Medina, it is Madam Mic Drop herself, Evena Taylor.
Hi, everyone. Hello from magical Medina. We are Halloween ready in Hallmark Town. Cleveland is rocking, and it's a lovely day. Good to see you all.
I've heard that about Cleveland. Something like Cleveland Rocks.
Cleveland Rocks. They're rocking. Yeah. We're getting ready. Our little town. It really is Hallmark Town. We are getting ready for the Halloween pub crawl. We have like a local Black Cat bookshop that's actually brought I don't know, I thought I heard somebody say 10,000 people to our little downtown. So it's just been small business is rocking in the heartland.
Small business is rocking. Wait a minute. I didn't think you were the heartland though. You used to chastise me for saying going to our nation's heartland, and then you just said it.
And I just said it because, if you can't beat them, join them.
Okay. Nice comeback. I still think you chastised me too hard when I said it. But anyway, I digress. All right. Usually this time we would go to our nation's capital to see how things are doing with Shashi Bellamkonda. But unfortunately, today he is under the weather. So we hope that he feels better soon and we get to see him next Friday. And usually after that, we go to something that is called the nation's vacation capital. Well, I don't really believe that, but that's what he says. And Ramon Ray would be, hyping that up. But unfortunately, he is not with us today. So we are down 2 members. But guess what, folks? We're not going down 3. We are going to, here, because he lives in Atlanta as well as I do. He is the cold one. Some call him the bold one. More and more people are calling him the old one. He is John Colder Ice Lawson.
What's up?
Do you get some kind of ad fee for your drinking and holding up your mug with whatever brand is on that thing? Or?
No, this is Christmas mode.
Oh, Christmas.
It's Christmas time. Yeah. Welcome to Christmas time.
Do not be
we
that
still got
person.
Halloween.
Hey, I've seen the first Christmas commercial on television. It is Christmas season. Merry Christmas.
Damn it. I thought that's what you were going to say because the way you were going there. Well, what was the first Christmas commercial of the season did you saw?
No, I don't remember what it was about, but there was two ladies sitting in front of a Christmas tree drinking coffee, and I saw it on Survivor the other day. So that's the first one. I always try to remember what the first one is. I don't remember the brand, but that was the first commercial.
And there's your problem.
That is a problem.
Yeah.
The
What good
holiday
is
season is here.
what good is it to them that you remember it was a Christmas commercial with absolutely no other memories of it whatsoever? So
Yeah, I don't care. I don't care. Not only that, I actually saw a Cyber Monday special. Somebody sent me a Cyber Monday special.
I mean, like Leland and even are saying, we're not even to Halloween yet. We're getting Cyber
No.
Mondays.
I
Cyber
get that
Monday.
one. I get that one because all of November is like Black Friday and
Yeah,
Cyber
it really
Monday,
is.
and they just roll it all into one.
I was at Home Depot. They got trees and lights and decorations. I'm like, not
I'm not ready
ready.
for that.
I am. You know what? I almost caused World War III in my house because my husband loves Halloween and he wanted like at the end of September, and I'm like, it is too soon. We did it
No,
just
it's
the
not too
other
soon.
day. I know everybody. Halloween is taken over as being very, very consumery. Probably next to Christmas, right? It's like Christmas
Probably.
decorations, then Halloween decorations.
Yeah,
People
July
are
5th,
keep 'em
losing their
up.
minds.
July 5th. That's the day you put up the Halloween decorations.
Oh my gosh.
Good Lord.
I want to go back to where like you decorate your Christmas tree on Christmas Eve.
Oh,
You know,
God.
I want to give Thanksgiving its due, and I want to give all of the holidays their due. I cannot do anything for like 40 some days. I can't. It's too much.
you know what? It just dawned on me like Amazon Prime Day. What was that, last week or something?
Yeah, 7 and 8.
Yeah.
I didn't hear
Prime
anything
Day, like,
about
3 a
the
month.
numbers. Has
Well,
anybody heard
we-
about the numbers? Were they good numbers? I haven't heard anything.
Our numbers were good.
Well, that's good for you, but I'm, looking at the aggregate, usually they put out like some sort of a, we did this amount. I haven't seen or
Yeah.
heard any of that. Was it a good day, or was, generally speaking? I haven't
I
heard
don't think
anything
it's
about it.
I don't think it's that important, exciting to them anymore.
Well, I just did a
I
quick
mean,
search.
that you have to put it out there.
I did a quick search in Forbes, so I don't know if I can trust it or not, but it says Amazon's October Prime Big Deal Days saw shoppers prioritize practical essentials due to economic uncertainty and inflation, resulting in less enthusiastic sales than July's event. Lower satisfaction and average order sizes reflected consumer caution, with many comparing prices and limiting spending. Yeah. This
Yeah.
indicates a potentially challenging and unpredictable holiday retail season ahead as consumers remain very wary of economic factors. Matter of fact, see, I got some numbers here. The latest NFIB sentiment, small business optimism index. Yeah, and this is just a kind of a capture of some of the things that they focused on, but. Look at expect economics or expect economy to improve. That went down 11 points from last month's numbers. That's pretty significant. That's about 50%. Let's see, 34.11. That's about a 33% drop month over month. That's not good. Expect real sales higher. That dropped down 4 points. So it was 12. Now it's 8. That's another 33% month over month decline. And then that total change, because I guess they add all these things up. The total change from 1 month, from August to September, is a negative 24. Now, that being said, I think the overall sentiment dipped down like 2 points. It wasn't like a huge. But looking at these individual things, that's where that kind of really adds up. And I think it's still 98.8 is the overall index. And I think that's still above the 51-year average of 98, but very slightly. it looks like it's trending down. But that's not the only numbers, folks. Let's look. So I decided, let's see what else is going on here. So I did a search on where is consumer credit or consumer sentiment going. Now, this is weird. Look at these. So one, the Barron's one, the consumer is cracking. These two airline stocks can handle it. And that's because it's a stock thing. But consumer is cracking. And then you look at Deloitte, consumer confidence sees a modest improvement, but cautious remains. Then you go to the CFO dive thing. Weak consumer sentiment persists amid job anxiety. That's what University Mission says. And then Reuters, U.S. consumer sentiment steady in October. So it's all over the damn place, basically. Some say it's cratering. Some say it's stable. Some say it's slightly up, which makes me go to another stat I wanted to see about credit card debt, consumer credit card debt. Now, this is funny because this is from the Economic Times, and they're based, I believe, in India, I think. Signs of disaster. Americans drown in a record 1.33 trillion credit card debt, and it's still climbing. Now, let's keep moving on the news here. So I said, what about the tariffs? What's going on with the tariffs? And I saw something from, I think, Goldman Sachs. So I just said, Goldman Sachs tariffs. What are the top stories? As new tariffs take effect, U.S. consumers footing more than half of the burden. That's the report. U.S. consumers shouldering 55% of Trump tariff costs. Goldman Sachs, U.S. consumers bearing more than half the cost of Trump's tariffs. All right. Do I have anything else? Or I think that's it. So with all that as kind of a setup, how are you guys feeling? As I like to ask you guys every week. Who wants to go first?
I mean, you just depressed us. We're feeling great. Fantastic.
I'm not, it's the numbers. I'm not putting these numbers out. I mean, I wanted to see what consumer sentiment was. I want to see what small business sentiment was. I want to see what the tariff situation was. And I can't help it that was the case. I mean, I'm just don't shoot the messenger, Ivana, what about you? What do you feel about that stuff?
I'm going to echo John. I've been trying to not be depressed about it, right? Especially as I told you, I had put out these questions to my community to see how they were doing. And the most common response I got was I've had people closing their businesses. I had one close because of cybersecurity attack. I've had other people closing because they just couldn't handle the increase in costs. I've had entrepreneurship put off. So I didn't hear, I was like, dang, someone tell me something good. Tell me something good, because we know that hard times and hard economic times and disruptions typically, foster some really exciting ideas and exciting new businesses. And I would love to hear something positive, which is why I was probably waxing, not nostalgic, but like excitement when I talk about my small town. I think like as I said last weekend, they had some type of event right here at my local square, and there were lots of pedestrians, a lot of traffic, and more importantly, pedestrians holding shopping bags, right? So this is the kind of observational analysis that I like to do. I did, in my research, see that, of course, this wouldn't surprise you, even though marketing is one of the first costs to get cut, a lot of agencies and consultants who are in the AI space helping small businesses are actually doing well. So that was like a bright spot. I'm going to throw it over to Leland.
This is just, the way that everything works. It doesn't matter who's in charge. It doesn't matter what kind of administration that we have. There's always going to be upheaval. There's always going to be change, because when you have one person in charge, they're going to want to do it their way, and they're going to upend whoever did it past. Even if it's from the same party, they're going to be like, I want to drive my own. And so to me, it's the way that small businesses adapt to changing environments. and how that that's really going to be the ultimate test. Can you be a small business that is able to adapt to change, or are you going to be the kind of small business that goes, well, I only can do it one way, and if that way doesn't work with the current way that the world works, then I'm out. And so when it comes to small businesses, it's be flexible, it's change, it's shift. I remember seeing this is a person on Reddit, and they were selling board games. And this was back when the tariffs were at their highest, and they got all of their board games from China, which means that their cost now, this is at the point where it was tripling. And my thought is like, why is it that you're only focusing on one thing, board games? Why not move into other territories that may not be affected by tariffs as much? Expanding books, other geeky type items that would appeal to your customers. Why does it have to be just one thing, board games? Adapt, change, because it doesn't matter who's in office. Things are always going to shift. Things are always going to change. I mean, we have like the story in New York where Mamdani is wanting to really ramp up the income tax. And that's going to affect a lot of people in New York. You have to be able to shift, change, and adapt, or else you're out.
Someone who also wanted to add their sentiment here, our buddy Pierre, who says he is too sad to comment from. Hey, Pierre, if you're available to join us, since we are missing a couple of our regulars, let me know and I'll shoot you the link and you can join us. And you don't have to be in the peanut gallery. You can come right on and join us if you want. So just let me know, because we all know you and we all love you. So, and we all value your opinions. So if you're able to join us, let me know and I will shoot a link over and you can step out of the peanut gallery. Although it's not really a peanut gallery. It's a nice little place. All right. I've been at conferences this week, well, last week, this week, and going next week. Just a couple of observations now. Of course, for the majority of the audience of these conferences, they're mostly kind of at a bigger business level than the traditional SMBs we're talking to are kind of focused on. Although last week Leo was at NetSuite, and they do have an SMB focus, probably skewing a little bit more to the M than the S at this point, but still, yeah. So, and I don't know how many events either the Cold One or even have been to over the last 4 or 5 months, but it feels like this place, this Oracle, is called Oracle AI World, and it was jam-packed. It was uncomfortably jam-packed walking around in the corridors and things like that. And there's a lot of just talking, a lot of activity, a lot of networking going on. And I found that rather refreshing. And I didn't even hear a whole lot of negative sentiment going on. And although we're in the age of every conference has to, have AI at its forefront, it didn't even feel like it was, considering like some of the other conferences I've been to where, every other word is A or I or AI or EIO or whatever you want to call it. And for a conference which name is actually AI World, which is really what the conference is named, it didn't feel like it was ridiculously focused, although everything was, all roads lead back to AI. But net, so far, these last, couple of conferences I've been to, upbeat. People seem to be very interested in learning and not just trying to sell you stuff, and really trying to figure out how to use AI beyond the hype that we've all been kind of forced upon us, and really trying to figure out concrete ways to use it beyond just, the kind of the content creation stuff. Leland, do you give me? I don't know if we really got a lot of your take from last week, but what are you seeing as you go? And I know you're getting ready to go to another big one, Adobe Max. So what are you seeing, and what do you want to see when you go to a big conference like that?
So I'll preface this with saying it's like I was talking with my wife about it, and she goes, "Why would people go to these conferences?" Because I'm giving my perspective as media, because I'm not attending, some of the small groups and stuff like that, the training sessions and whatnot. And so I go into it and I go, okay, it's she's floored, like $1,500 plus another probably like that $1,000, $1,500 on food, and it's like companies would pay to bring people, and it's like, yes, because they want to get the training, they want to get the firsthand news, the firsthand experience in what's going on with the products that they're using. And it's like, I don't get to go to those. I mean, I probably could have snuck into a couple of sessions if I wanted to, but I don't. I go to all of the media sessions and whatnot. But when a normal person, average person goes into them, they are going to these training sessions. They're getting to learn something very specific that pertains to their job and to their position and what they're using the software for, and hopefully come back with more than what they came out. I mean, a company goes, okay, so I'm going to give you $3,000 to go and basically do training. That's a win for me if I can get $3,000 out of productivity out of it. And she looked at it and said, okay, yeah, I could get that. Okay. And so, and that's what I saw. I saw a lot of people going here and there, and in Oracle, there were hundreds of rooms, just tons of different little short sessions on how to do X, Y, or Z in NetSuite. And for Oracle, that's great because it's cementing them more into their product, and it's giving their users something out of it to be able to use their product more efficiently. And that's what I love to see out of it. And from what I'm seeing, I'm going to go to Adobe Max, and that's the way that it's set up over there too. So it's how to use the product, how to use it efficiently, and in the evening you get to go and have drinks and party with Pitbull and stuff like that.
You had me up until that last part, but okay.
At the end of the day, that's what they're wanting. They're like, we're going to Vegas, baby.
Do you think there's enough? I mean, this is not a specific thing to NetSuite and SuiteWorld, but just generally speaking, do you think there's enough substance around why you should do this, why AI is important to you, or what scenarios or use cases apply best to small business to get some immediate return? Or is it still just about AI, just nebulous kind of pie in the sky? Because to me, I don't think there's most of the conferences I've been to are still up in the pie in the sky and not defining the serious use cases that can really immediately provide some kind of return. I don't know if that means monetization, but at least some kind of return in terms of, oh, I can do more with less, or I can spend my time doing other things because I can use AI to handle this. I still don't think small businesses are getting the kind of information they need in order to apply AI in a way that will have immediate impact, if not huge returns, but at least some kind of immediate impact that says, oh, okay, this makes sense to me. Because I still think people are looking at, creating videos with purple cows and stuff like that. Not to put down purple cows. I love me some, what's that dude that writes about Seth Godin? He got a couple of his books, so it's not about that. But it just feels like we're still in this nebulous phase of AI, and it does, and enough of the mainstream kind of small businesses still don't really get what this stuff can do for them.
You know who I think did it right? I don't know which of you, because it was a lot of people in Zoho's AI little overview that they do. They do a monthly
Yeah, they didn't
Thing.
do
They
one
did a little
yesterday or
monthly
something.
thing. Yeah, they did one yesterday. I happened to be there. I don't know if any of you guys, Leland, were you there? You're
Shit,
usually
I
there.
missed it. I missed it.
Okay, well, I'm going to tell you the most exciting in Zoho. God love them. Sometimes they have big, like you were saying, pie in the sky AI things. But one of the things, the thing they announced yesterday was exactly what you were talking about. That small business owners would eat up on a stick. But these are like stupid, simple, mundane AI features, like they introduced like Zia to clean your email inbox, right? So you could put like simple, let's call it rules in place. Like I actually do that with my Google, but this is like AI. Like, but here's a really cool one. If you get something in your inbox that looks like a prospect, right? That looks like it should be a deal, like it's coming from a customer or a prospect conversation. This little mini AI agent will identify that. Like, because I don't know about you. Now, I happen to run Zero Inbox, but I know most people do not. They've got hundreds, if not thousands, maybe tens of thousands of emails. So, what a fantastic, practical feature. And then like you can highlight that when the email comes in, you highlight and you can push it out to CRM. You can drop it into a workflow. You can like, but this is like stupid simple, right? This is like you guys were always saying, like it's baked in to the process, right? And they, oh my God, now I can't think of the other ones, but like that one stood out to me as like mundane, stupid, practical, and really useful to how small businesses operate every single day.
Before anybody else jumps in, let's welcome our buddy Pierre DeBlaise.
Hi, Pierre.
Hey, Pierre.
Hey, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Oh, we
Yeah.
can hear you loud and clear, brother. You coming in real
Okay.
good.
Good morning. Hey, everyone.
Thanks for joining us and making us a five-some where we're used to being a 5 or a 6-some. So thanks for jumping in. And we were just talking about me and Leland kind of been at a couple of conferences and still some to go. And just I was saying, generally speaking, the AI discussion is it's getting bigger and bigger, but it doesn't feel like it's getting better when it comes to helping small businesses really determine how they can use it right away to see some kind of some positive impact. Not saying it's going to be use this and you'll 5x your business, because I believe that is BS. I don't care who says it.
Yeah.
But things that can be done and have a positive impact that doesn't really get the big eyeballs, but it'll get much more immediate impact than a lot of the things that are people are so focused on right now. What do you think?
I think we are still in that early stage of figuring out what AI can do. I agree with you on that. I like what Leyland brought about the conferences, by the way. I want to touch on that a little bit as well too. It's really is a sorting out, really. And that's always happened with technology, even for analytics, even for data, even for any sort of software. You're told as a business owner, hey, try this. And Brent, what you just said, if you try this, you'll get this type of productivity. And sometimes that doesn't always happen for everybody. I think that's a little bit more. I think developers kind of tend to think of it as try this out, and they expect you to kind of figure out on your own. And as small business owners, our time is compressed. We're trying to figure out how to get much value every minute, every hour of the day. So it's kind of hard to kind of look at something and go, unless it's very directly clear, like I'm using this spreadsheet to produce this amount of work. Unless it's that explicit, it's just hard for us to figure it out. And AI is very, it's not hard, but I think it's very nebulous in how it's being presented. I will say this real quickly. The one thing that I think may be a saving grace that I'm seeing from AI now is AI projects. And these are just features that treat the AI questioning as a project. So you see that with Claude and ChatGPT. I think that's helping to sort out some things, and I think that will take off over the next year or so in particular. And to Leyland's point about the conferences, I think this ties in a little bit in some level. Small business owners are just looking for value right now. So they're trying to look out, if I go to this thing, what is the immediate value to it? And I think Leyland brought up a good point about conferences. yeah, they seem like, this sort of, let's just hang out and talk to these vendors. But the conferences that have, done work, that have workshops, and I can say from this past year, the best conference I did, they had workshops. It seems to be gaining some traction for people. I think everyone's trying to look for value because we're in this environment trying to figure out what we need to be doing. So that's my 2 cents on it.
Do you think the virtual kind of aspects of you can now pretty much, at least in the industry I'm kind of focused in, every one of the vendors now has the virtual option for watching the keynotes and some virtual workshops as well. Do you think that is maybe a better option than paying for the hotel and the flight and all that stuff? Or do you think there's still a lot of value in physically going to an event right now?
I think there's still value on going to an event, but I'm going to put an asterisk on that. It really depends on the workshop. I did Marketing Analytics Summit this past year, which was terrific. And I put on a workshop on just introduction to analytics. And you would think, and I and the conference holders thought this was going to be the least signed up. It actually ended up being the most signed up, basically. And the reason why I think people did that was because when you go to a conference, people really, when you're at a workshop, you get to hear and ask questions. And I'm not saying you can't do that on a webinar, but there's something different when it's something that you are really committed to learn, as if you were, you want something that is not necessarily like going to college, but you need something where there's a dedicated space to it. And I think companies resonate with that a little bit more. The webinars, I think, help for people when they can't. I think you still need to offer it for people who can't go, but still might be interested. And I think if you're a conference, if you're a host of a conference, you do that because you know that maybe they missed this year's, but we're trying to eye for next year. In fact, by the time you're offering your conference, you're already thinking of 2026. So, and if you're in 2026, 2027, and so forth. So I think I think going for the business owner, going is still, I think there's still value to it. It just needs to be very explicit and clear on what the workshops are that you are doing. I think that's the stuff that seems to be getting some traction.
And to piggyback off of that too, there's an element of finding other people in your situation and connecting with them and potentially making and comparing notes too. It's like, oh, I do this. Oh, you do that. I do this. And this really works for me, but I like the idea of what you're doing. And then you find new avenues, new ways of using the product. And then you connect on LinkedIn and potentially have a person to be able to talk back and forth with. That is if you're a person who likes to actually talk to people. If you don't, then
yeah,
then the webinars is the best way to go.
Yeah.
Mr. Lawson, you're kind of in a mode of you don't want to really go to a lot of stuff anymore.
Well, I go to a lot of conferences.
Oh, you do?
I just don't go to enterprise conferences. So I don't really have much to.
Well, Zoho, you go to Zoho. I mean, that's
the only one that I ever go to. But yeah.
So you don't really go to anything for learning. You go for networking or speaking.
I go to small business conferences. So that's
okay.
kind of where
why do you go?
Business owners.
Why do you go to
with each other
or networking?
Like you said.
So it's networking, but it's also it sounds like it's like camaraderie too. Like those, it feels like that's your tribe. So that's why you go to that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, being a small business is a lonely place to be.
Yeah, Maytag repairman.
It is. It absolutely is. I mean, because the things that we deal with, oftentimes you got to deal with it internally. I can't go to my team and let them know everything that's going on my side of things because I'm the leadership and I got to lead the team. So you got to talk to other leaders that understand what you're going through. And that is a big value of having these kind of conferences. Like he said, having the workshops, being able to shop with one another. and communicate, that is huge, because like I said, I can't tell everybody on the team what's going on. It's
Well,
like, oh, we barely made payroll last week. Yeah, let's talk about that, guys.
I'm
You
sure
can't
they'd
do
love to
that.
hear about that. No, but
Exactly.
you really do a lot around trying to find new technologies that will help you and all that. Do you actually entertain the thought of going to those vendors who are the technologies to go to their events to learn more about how you can do things, or is that just like not
Yeah,
interesting to you?
absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. I mean, because oftentimes they need to hear what it's like using their tools in real world.
Yeah.
Oh, so you
Most
go
of
to the
these
more and to tell them more than to take in. That's what you're saying.
more than, yeah, most times, because I
Oh,
mean,
okay. All
these
right.
people sit in their towers and make solutions that nobody gives a shit about. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like, really? You put that on? This is the last thing I ever wanted on your tool, and now you're rolling that out like I'm supposed to be happy. This is the conversation we be having
But
sometimes.
what if they
You
say,
know,
"Oh, you mean
like
you're trying to do that? Well, you should go to this workshop here, and they'll tell you exactly how to do that."
usually, but then the deal is, and hey, I'm in ecom when I go to most of these. So I'll go to the Amazon conference, and most of the people talking about solutions have never sold a damn thing. You see what I'm saying? So it's like you don't really know what's going on. So I think there's value in them getting to interact with the actual users that are actually, soldiers out in the field. I, I think that's powerful. And then they have solutions that are like hidden behind menus and things that I was like, oh man, I never even knew that. I never went to that, part of the toolbar. That's what that does. So I mean, it works.
So for you, it's like a give and take. It's like
Definitely.
you not only want to learn, you want them to learn some stuff too.
Yes, because I want them to, you know, feel what it's like to use their product. I'm like, bro, if I got to open that every time, do you know how much time that takes me to have to do that every time? I got 150 orders to do this morning, and every time I got to right click. Why can't that happen automatically? Little things like that. It just make the difference.
All right. So even having heard that, what vendor events? And I'm gonna say I know one you're gonna say because I think you've already said Zoho. All right, right.
Mhm.
But are there any other vendor events that operate like that, like what John was talking about? Not only workshops, but they listen and you're able to kind of speak on equal terms about your experiences just as much as you're able to learn about the new stuff or how to do something in their platform.
It is the one only other event that I go to. I did not happen to go this year, but I've heard from my friends and I've already had a debrief with someone who told me that I saw that they've doubled their attendance this year over last, and
Wow.
that is Question Pros X Day. And X is like experience, so their whole thing is user experience. It is also an online market research platform. And last year when I went, this year they did what you were talking about. They added workshops. So it was a 1-day event. Now it was like sort of a 2-day event if you were doing workshops. So they did something similar to what like a content marketing world would do. There were these in-depth workshops given by subject matter experts who were very, very specific. Question Pros and online survey software, they compete with brands like Qualtrics, for example. And what they've done is something also similar to what Zoho does, where they really enroll their customers. Their CEO, who is a dear friend of mine, because he was my customer service rep in the garage when he launched. I was one of their first users.
I think you mentioned that
I
before.
mentioned that. And so, but what I just love about him is the same thing you guys love about Zoho. So accessible, right? he is there with everyone. He coded the original software. So like he wants to know, like to John's point, he wants to know user experience. He is on the court. He's not just bouncing around these different locations. His team is on the court. So they've got customers doing what I would consider workshops, which I really like. The other thing that they do, because it is a market research platform and it's all about customer experience, X day meaning like experience day, they're touching on all different levels of experience, right? So they've got experience with AI. The one thing that my friend told me was the sort of undercurrent message, which I really love. They've always been ahead of the trend game, is employee experience. I know Vivek Bhaskaran, the CEO, has been on employee experience forever and ever. Why? Because he was an employee, right? Who started this business and coded it. So I think that's one of my favorite conferences. Again, whenever I am learning about a platform that I use, I can't say any more than John did, because that's how I am with Zoho. I'm a pain in their bum. When you're using a platform and you use it all day, every day, and you think certain things should be obvious. So those conferences are useful. They're teaching you how to use the platform. They're introducing new features, and they're talking about industry trends. And from what I heard on the report on this year's X Day, even though AI is an integral part of every conversation, it was not very AI focused, kind of like what you were saying. I think people are becoming more attuned to the practical uses of how can AI actually give me the productivity I'm looking for.
You know, that's I think that's something that maybe will evolve or is evolving. I think certain companies are so big that it's very hard for them to hear the individual attendee and be able to cater to that. But I think conferences that are supposedly really catering to SMBs, because that's what their business does. I think these are kind of exceptions to the rule. It feels like Zoho, of course, is its own kind of universe. But are most technology companies that are really catering to small businesses, do they operate like the conference that you just said, or is that an outlier?
I think that's pretty standard. You know,
It is.
it's a user con.
Yeah,
That's what they're set up to be. They're user conferences. We want to find out how people are using our product and let them know how they could or should be using our product.
I tend to
as
think that
opposed to, John, like the conferences that, let's say, you and Ramon will go to. I've gone to the content marketing side of these things, right, where they spun off Content Marketing World, and Joe Polizzi, who founded Content Marketing World, spun it off into, I think he calls it CEX or something, but it's more like an content entrepreneur, right? So it's more of like, instead of speaking to the enterprise, the enterprise, I don't know, content
Customer.
marketer. Yeah, they're speaking more to entrepreneurs, like what John is talking about. So, right, John, I mean, what are some not software conferences you go to that are more like entrepreneurial in nature?
TSP,
Yeah.
traffic sales and profit. You know, that's
Yeah.
what we do.
That's not but okay, so there's a distinction though. There are conferences like that, and then there are conferences by the vendors that are
That's
creating
totally different.
Yeah. Because there's different motives. There's different, like, let's face it, at the end of the day, vendor conference is their hope in their purview to either get new customers or get their current customers to stay customers longer, or to use more of their platform, or to so the vendor owned conference is going to be a lot different than the kind of thing like TSP, which is it's really about the entrepreneur. It's about not getting them to buy anything specific. It's about them doing whatever they need to do and learning whatever they need to learn to grow their business, right?
Right. And then, I mean, like the vendor the vendor conferences often have suppliers or third party vendors that are part of their ecosystem. So
Yeah.
back in the day when we used to go to, Infusionsoft, you'd have all these other spin-off companies that were supported by the Infusionsoft community because they needed other solutions. So you'd have those too,
Or
but there's still plenty of those out there.
you had partners that helped you get that thing set up because you needed a freaking PhD degree in order to actually get that sucker set up so you could actually use it.
It was crazy. Yeah, we will help you onboard it. Just like that.
Well, and the entrepreneur conferences, I obviously have not been to TSP, but let's say when you go to Content Marketing World, if you happen to, follow a particular, I don't know who I can think of, like a Suzanne Evans, or like, I'm not going to use Tony Robbins because everybody knows who that is, but there are
Please don't use Tony Robbins.
But there are like thousands, but there are thousands, hundreds, maybe thousands of these mini conferences that are launched by entrepreneurs who also sell vendor spaces. So that thing that they're selling, whereas if you go to a vendor conference, right, we're talking about a software and its ecosystem, right? But if you go to an entrepreneur conference, like when I went to Content Entrepreneur Expo, right, there are workshops where you're learning about how to create content, different kinds of content. And then inside the exhibit space, you're going to find social media scheduling tools. You're going to find, different content marketing platforms and tools that support the things you're learning. Whereas if you go to one of these, I don't know, what should I call it? A private coaching conference, expert conference, influencer conference, if you're doing something like that, they want to sell you a 5-figure coaching program, right? And inside of that, you're going to get a virtual assistant. And inside of that, they're making money off affiliate commissions from platforms like Kartra and Infusionsoft and, Keep, right? So all these conferences are, really, really good. But I have a hack. Pierre was part of my hack. So if you guys are in Atlanta, so if you happen to live in a city where there's a conference happening that you want to go to, but that conference costs like $1,500, $2,500, don't buy the ticket.
Oh Lord, she's a bar hack.
Not just a bar hack. You can go to the, get what you need to get into the facility, right? You might be able to just get something that's like a door, right? You just get into the door and do networking or whatever. Because what I found was when I'm going to these conferences where there's a lot of content and like 3,000 people, man alive, you cannot make time to meet those people. So yeah, I am a bar hack. I went to Content Marketing World. I did not buy a ticket because it was $1,500. It was given in Cleveland. Instead, I went to the venue, a cool restaurant that was right across the street from the evening event. I opened a bar tab and I said to the waitress, "Tell me when you hit $500." And I had open bar and free food for all my friends, and
that's
70
cool.
and 70 people came, and my bill was about $550 plus the tip. Everyone ate, everyone drank.
So what was the
connections?
Wait, I was going to say, what was the impact of that for you?
It was a huge impact. I got to build relationships with the founders of, this was BuzzSumo, the original founder of BuzzSumo. I got to see all of our friends, like Andy Crestodina came, and what's her name? Julia McCoy came. And these are all friends of mine who were just like you guys, right? We're online friends, but here we had the chance. People were talking about this the next day. They were like, "Damn, did you go to Butcher and Brewer? That was awesome. There was drinks, there was food." I was a host because I was from Cleveland, and I would had all this Cleveland food there. We had an awesome time, and I got to probably build some really amazing connections with people I never would have, just because the venue was too big.
Yeah.
Too many people.
Let me ask you this. Did word ever get back to the actual host of the event about that?
I did not compete with their event. I was into the space from after the conference ended, right? So the conference is over. And then the evening, let's say the conference ends at 5 and the evening event begins at 7:30. I was in that slot.
Okay, so like when the entertainment portion of the event was going on, that's when you did your little thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was
I
no,
That's the thing.
I made it a point. I'm friends with Joe Polizzi. I would never, that goes against my integrity. I would never want to hurt something that was happening at my friend's event, right? I want that to be successful. So I just took that 2-hour slot. Now, if you wanted to hang out or you decided you were not going to go to that thing, that's your business. That is not my
Right.
business.
Yeah.
When people got their invitation, it was immediately from like 5 until like 7:45, 8 o'clock. And then their event was directly across the street. So, you know, you can
So,
come.
so
have
you
drinks.
advertised that? Like you how did you let people know that you were doing that?
A lot of my friends, like Pierre, a lot of my friends were speakers at the conference, right? So I knew once I got this idea in my head of what I was going to do, I reached out to my friends and I said, hey, this is what I'm doing. I sent an invitation. I think I just sent an email, just like you would like privately, right? I sent an email and I told them that they could bring whoever they want. And people came, like groups of like 5 and 8 people
Yeah.
came.
I-
I
No,
rented a bar for an eBay conference and did the same thing.
Was that the aftermath thing?
Yeah, you know,
it's
and we
pretty
ended up having the CEO of eBay come over and hang out.
He was like, "Oh,
I
John,
mean,
this
it's
is
just
great.
like-
John, you're the best."
Well, I am, but that has nothing to do with that. But yes, I love that idea. You know, you have little meetups. There's all kind of meetups that happen around
Oh, yeah.
large events, and
Mhm.
you, like you said, put the word out with your friends and other speakers and bloggers, and
Yeah.
you know,
yeah.
and
Do lunches and cocktails. Like you don't,
yeah,
but do not be an a-hole and compete with the event.
no,
Like that is not
Mhm.
cool.
Yeah.
no.
I think the other thing too is I want to add, because I love what John said and what Ivana said. I think the other thing too is a lot of times when people go to conferences, these sort of after 5 things, sometimes they're still vendor sponsored, and that's fine if it's a
Yeah.
vendor you want to see. But if it's people that you want to meet up, these are great ways of connecting with people, because during the conference you are running around like a chicken, with your head
Right.
cut off, and you just don't. You might see people for 5 seconds saying hi, love to see you, but you don't get the chance to sit down with even just a whiskey and a conversation with somebody. So this was a good. It was a. I agree with them on what they've said as well too. So
If you are a small business owner, man, and you or working a small business, you need to take, you know, advantage of this time. Go in with a plan. Know who you're going to meet, who you want to network with, and spend that kind of time. I mean, because it's rare that you have all of that in one place, and it's worth it. And like she said, you could buy the $1,500 ticket. The $1,500 ticket is the chicken with the head cut off ticket. It's that's what you're going to get for that part. But it's the after party and the networking. That's where the real value is made, I think.
All right, so Leland, what have you learned about this that you can carry forward into your
Good.
Adobe Max?
I'm gonna be interested in seeing because Adobe, from what I've seen, is one of those companies that is like kind of like Zoho, where they're willing to actually innovate quickly. And they've added in a lot of like AI features and stuff like that. So I saw recently they added Nano Banana into like Photoshop, which is like a really new Google tool in Photoshop. And it's like, any other like big bulky company like IBM or something like that, it would take like a year to be able to integrate. And so I'm interested in that, but I'm interested in like seeing like what's the small business aspect of like Adobe and how can they kind of cater to the small businesses and see. I want to see like the people, and it's like, is it just a bunch of influencers with ring cameras? No hate on the ring camera. I've been around Oracle World with a ring camera and scared a lot of people. Or is there a little bit more, going on with it?
That was funny. Yeah, because I know you're talking. I didn't know it was going to be a video. No, I'm not doing that. Okay. So there's not going to be a Small Biz Trends bar meetup?
That's not a bad thing.
But see,
2026.
See, I think what's going on would be if you could tell, like, if you could get your Adobe sponsors to let people know you're doing that and get them there. See, that's kind of your target is more the vendor community as opposed to the individuals. I mean, if you get the right individual influencers, then I bet the vendors will come. Like if you said, "Oh, Marquez Brownlee is coming," you're gonna have the CEO of Adobe coming in on that one. So could happen. But anyway, no, I you know what? Somebody did that during our event. I didn't even think about this, but thought about it afterwards. But we were telling people when our first reception is going to be, and to his credit, this guy who is he actually is goes into big vendors and creates community stuff for them. He was like, "Okay, you guys are doing. That's when we're supposed to be okay." And then he sent out an email saying, "Hey, we're gonna have a pizza and beer pre reception, and all's invited." And he had like 30 people at that mug, And I was like, "Damn, why didn't I think?" No, I'm just kidding. So I think that those are some cool little hacks or reasons or something, because it sounds like. I mean, learning is definitely, I was going to say learning is fundamental, but I'm not. Learning is, an important piece of this event experience, but it feels like what has always been like the most important piece is the networking kind of piece, where you're able to create those kind of relationships that could bear fruit at some point in time. And I still hear that that's the most important part. Then the learning is an important part. They don't really like the keynotes. For most people, don't go for the keynotes, and they don't really go for the after, the big event after parties too. But I think that it's that strategic way that you can, like, what even though they're saying is very strategic. You found a good way to kind of integrate yourself in a way that allows you to meet the kind of people you wanted to meet. And I think a lot of people don't do enough of that. They go with the hope of meeting some people, but that was a very tactical way of doing it while saving some dough, which I think is really, really good.
Yeah, I think John said it best, and I really want to reiterate something that John said about setting goals. Like, why are you really there? You're spending, you are going to be spending time and money, whatever that is. So you need to know why you're going. The other tip I want to give, because this actually applies to any trade show, event, or conference, whether you're like someone like ourselves or whether you're like a small business and you want to, maybe the Chamber of Commerce is doing something or whatever. Always attend the event before you go off and do these hacky things like we're talking about. I had attended Content Marketing World 2 or 3 times. I paid, I had media passes, I had several different experiences with that conference. So I knew that when they were asking me to pay $2,500, that I was not going to get what I wanted. It did not meet my goals. I had goals of people I wanted to meet and conversations I wanted to have, which is how I got to this idea. So if you're thinking, I don't know what to do, attend the conference, like what Leland is going to do. He's going to attend the conference. He's going to see what's what. Next year, he's going to have a different kind of plan with maybe some different goals. So, I mean, I'm going to start this whole, tip thing off with that, like what John said.
Yeah, he's going to do the small biz bar night. That's right. Small biz bar night. That even has a little ring to it. and
Right
get
out the
the-
gate.
That's all Brett's really good for is naming things. And I actually like that. That's very good.
Oh, wow.
I actually like that.
This was recorded, so I got it on video. All right. This has been really cool. This was completely none of which I thought we were going to be talking about, but I think it's an important thing. Does anybody here, I know I'm going to do this, but in 2026, are anybody going to hold like a physical event of their own?
Yeah, not a big event, but
Doesn't have to be a big event.
training classes. Yeah, I think I want to do some live and in person. I just did one this week, and it went really well.
Good. What about you up here?
I'm committed for well, this may be a little early yet, but there's one more marketing analytics summit that's coming, and right now it's tentative, but right now it looks like I'll be doing another workshop for that, which I'm excited because that would be even better than my first one. I'm looking at I would say right now I'm looking at a few events to do other workshops. I'm still kind of thinking through a little bit. Many ones I've done have been a little bit more developer oriented. This one next year, the next ones next year are going to be a little bit more towards the small businesses because I think I can do this. The developer stuff was great, but I think the challenge now is that there's more things now I think I can do more efficiently rather than doing the conferences there. But I'm also thinking about maybe doing my own event after the marketing analytics summit as well too. Something just very get togethery because, like I said, like I mentioned with Ivana and John, I think it's important to network with people as best as possible. I think that's the real value of the conferences.
Ivana, do you think you'll do some kind of live
I think
thing?
my live event days are over. When I first started my Bizapalooza brand, it was virtual. Then I wanted to do it live. That like never happened. I think those days are kind of beyond that right now.
Why did it never happen? Just out of curiosity.
Honestly, I think like just first of all, planning a live event. I've worked with Small Biz Trends on planning live events, like the influencer conferences and everything. Don't kid yourself. Doing a live event requires an incredible, John knows this, anyone who's done it knows this, requires an incredible amount of time, huge amounts of money, sponsors. So it's not just doing, I've done small things, which is a great hack. Here's another hack. Hack. It doesn't have to be one of these big ass conferences. You could do, I think John's done some of these, but it doesn't have to be fancy. You can do a retreat. You could do I used to plan, I've done a live event where I planned a retreat for like 25 people, all CEOs, board members, a big company. It's like a, good old boy club, right? And I've planned those types of events. So I don't know. I think I was just over it. Now I'm really over it. So not for me.
All right. Damn. I know I'm doing one and you're right. We actually are fortunate enough to have some sponsors and allowed us to hire people who actually do what the hell they were doing, because if it was up to me and Paul Greenberg, I don't want to think about what that event would look like. But I hadn't done, 12, 13 years ago, we did one under the perfect circumstances, which was I had a relationship with the folks at Georgia Tech. They gave me a really great location, free of charge, in downtown Atlanta with free parking involved. In the actual conference room, it was like that kind of that United Nations setting with everybody having their own little space, and had Wi-Fi included. So that made it a lot easier to do. and then once that went away, I was like, oh, hell no, I don't think I can do it. And then John and I did one at Georgia State, which we pulled off, but it took a lot of effort, and it didn't go the way we really wanted to, but another learning thing. But it took me like 12 years to try it again. And we did it that time. We did it with a professional organizer, a whole team of people for promotion. And we did get paid sponsors, which we were really fortunate to get some of the folks that we work with. And that ended up being something we thought, oh, we're just going to do it once because it was like our 15th anniversary of doing CRM Players. and people loved it so much they're like, you got to do this again. It's like, oh, okay, you're gonna give us the same kind of money? You know? we sure will do it. But yeah, so you never even know what this thing can do. Like for you, even what you did, I'm sure you didn't know exactly how it was going to turn out, but look what it did. And that's kind of similar for us. We didn't know. We thought this is going to be one and done because it's going to be too much damn work. And, we'll have a lot of fun. We'll get all our friends in the industry together. And people actually showed up saying from like Germany saying, we didn't even know you're going to have an agenda. We just thought it was going to be a big meetup of your community. I was like, are you kidding me? Really? So you don't know exactly how these things are going to turn out. But I think, like even I was saying, if you go into it with certain things in mind that you really want to accomplish, at least you'll have some measuring stick. And if it doesn't work out, then you don't do it again. But you just never know. So I never would have thought I'd be doing another one of these things, but because, kind of some of the experiences from the past, we're going to do our second one in March. So we'll see how it goes. And by the way, all you guys are invited. Yeah, we're not doing it in January. We did move it back to March, so we did learn something from that. But yeah, so we'll be putting out our save the date stuff soon, and all are invited. So and once again, Ramon is not here to hear me say that because he made a point of, you didn't invite me. I was like, I literally invited everybody on. But anyway, so final thoughts. Let's go with Pierre, since you haven't been with us in a while.
I would say one quick final thought is, if you are thinking about an event, this is the time to do it. This is October. A lot of events have, if you're speaking, look for CFPs, call for proposals. But even with that, the fact that events are everyone's kind of saying, hey, we're going to have this event in March, we're going to have this in June, or what have you. This is the time to map that out and put together honest, whether it's a spreadsheet. I use Evernote quite a bit. Map it out and figure out where you're going, so that way you can budget and start thinking through a little bit about what you want to do as well too. So I'll say that and land there.
Awesome. The man rubbing his hands like he's got something important to say.
I'm freezing. I'm cold. But
Nope.
No, man. Just guys, have a great weekend. Definitely, like we've been talking about, if you are going to take that time away from your business, that's a lot of time, and spend that money, stay in that hotel, fly on that plane, all of that. Definitely have a plan in place so that you can maximize your time at these events.
Hey, Leland, since you're still got one ahead of you.
All right. I'm gonna go back into like the AI tools a little bit. I experienced working with one this week, and I was not getting the results I wanted. It was sounding terrible. The results were just bad, but I didn't give up. Work it, change the prompts, change the settings, tweak it, try different aspects of it, and eventually you'll find something a little bit better, and a little bit better, and a little bit better. But it's not going to be one of those, so many people go, oh, it's AI, I could just throw in whatever. So often we've said garbage in, garbage out. So you got to work it. And eventually you'll find some good results.
Missy Elliott would agree with you on that, by the way. Anyway, moving on. It's time for our Madam Mic Drop moment from Magical Medina.
I hate when you
So
set
much
me up.
pressure.
It's too much pressure. No, I think I'm gonna. It is October, and just like Pierre said, if you're gonna be planning for conferences, this is business planning time, market planning time. We are almost into the weekend. Why not do some observational market research? Go and observe your customers in their native habitat. Pay attention to body language. Pay attention to the looks on their faces. pay attention to how they're interacting, pay attention to what people are buying and why they're buying, because you can use those. Oh, pay attention to what big brands are doing. They spend like millions of dollars on market research that you will not have. So use and adapt everything that is around you. And if start really noodling and pivoting, like we were talking about conferences, you know, what is your goal? Work backwards, right? How much money you want to make and what's going to make you that kind of money. What is that offer going to look like? Now is the time to be thinking about that.
I'm just going to paraphrase what you just said is pay attention, damn it. Okay. Let's say a shout out to our buddy, Joshua Sophie. Oh my goodness. Whiskey is, and he's probably right about that. Whiskey is greater than Keynote. So truer words have never been spoken, Joshua. So thank you for adding that. And thank everybody who joined us and checked us out. Once again, it's always fun talking with y'all because I really never know where our conversations go, but they usually go in a pretty interesting direction. So I really appreciate that and appreciate Pierre for stepping out of the peanut gallery and and joining us in the big leagues here.
Well, thank you for having me. It is a pleasure to be here and join in. So thank you.
Absolutely. So you all have a great weekend, and we will see you next Friday. Because if it's Friday, it's whatever.
It's Friday.
Yeah, it's Friday.
Yeah,
We'll see you next Friday.